Good morning, Church of the Good Shepherd friends. I thought that I would start off today in the same place I usually am when we are in our building and having Sunday school together. I thought I would sit on the floor, all right? And so this morning, I want to go back and I want to start a little circle time the way we would when we were in our room together. I am thinking that a few of you out there, I still remember your names. And so in my mind, I'm going, where is Lydia? Where is Lydia? And I'm hoping, there she is. There she is. Do you know some fun things about our names at Good Shepherd? Is that they are some of the same names that we see in the Bible. What about Lydia? Lydia is one of our friends, but do you remember that Lydia was also a lady in the New Testament and she lived in the city of Philippi? She also was a businesswoman and she made purple clothes. And they helped her to make a lot of money. Do you know what? Some of us have a lot of money and some of us have a little bit of money. But all of us can use our money and other things that we have to help others. All right? In a few weeks, Church of the Good Shepherd is going to do one thing that we do 4 times a year. And a bunch of us are going to get together and we're going to buy some things at the grocery store and we're going to cook them in our kitchens and we are going to take them and share them about a block down the street with some people who do not have a place to live right now. If you don't have a place to live, that is sad in all kind of ways, isn't it? If you don't have a place to live, then you certainly don't have a kitchen. So you don't have any home-cooked meals. And Good Shepherd 4 times a year helps to do a big set of meals for about 80 people in Colombia who come and are hungry and want something good to eat. Now, our Lydia in the New Testament times, long time ago in the Bible, way across the seas in a city called Philippi, she used some of her money to help build the church in Philippi. And all the church at Philippi got their money together and sent it to their good friend named Paul, who had helped them start their church. So, I want us to remember that these stories in the Bible, 1, they're true, they really happened, and 2, they can be a great example to us of how we are to live. We used to sing one song that some of y'all liked and some of y'all got tired of, and it went like this. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. And then what would we do? Oh, my favorite. Stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, say amen, amen. If you're happy and you know it, say amen, amen. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, shout amen, amen. Will you pray with me? God is listening. God is listening to each word I say. He will hear me. He will hear me every time that's right, pray. Dear God, we thank you for the Bible, your true word. It's like a letter to us. Would you help us today as we try to memorize some verses in it? Amen. That's right. We are going to try to memorize a few verses this morning. Now, when Miss Melanie was a little girl in church, we often memorized one verse at a time. And we might memorize one verse in this book of the Bible and one verse in this book of the Bible. But you and I are going to work on memorizing a whole paragraph in one section of the Bible. Why? Because I think you can memorize more than just a few little words. And I think it's important to memorize a whole section together because we got to know what they're talking about when they say each thing that they say in the Bible. Y'all already know, I think, this first verse that we're going to look at this morning because I have been saying it for 2 or 3 weeks, and it is a word that Paul reminded that church at Philippi, where Lydia was, and where probably that jailer was, that Paul and Silas met when they spent a night in prison for doing good. The verse says, "Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say, rejoice." What does that mean? Rejoice. Well, rejoice has the word joy in it. So I think that joy is a happy feeling, a really happy feeling. And to rejoice means to do joy over and over and over again. Like remembering is doing something over again, and repeating means to do something over again. Rejoice. So we're going to do it again and again and again. Do you know what? Even though joy is a feeling, feelings can make us do things. Feelings can move us to actions. Yeah, they can. Because remember, when you're happy and you know it, what kind of things do you do? Maybe you clap your hands. Gotcha. What are we going to rejoice in? What are we going to have joy in? Well, Paul knows we can't have joy over and over and over about all the things that are going on in the world. We can't even have joy in the things that we're feeling inside of our body all the time. Because sometimes our head hurts, or our tooth hurts, or our belly hurts, and it's hard to find joy in that. What are we to find joy or to rejoice in? We are to find joy in the Lord, and always. Now, we'll talk later about some tips to get that done. But I want to do the next verse with you because I think you already know. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say, rejoice. The next sentence in that group, that paragraph that we're learning, says, let your gentleness be known to everyone. Let your gentleness be known to everyone. What is gentleness? I want you to think back with me to the story I told you last week about Paul and Silas. Paul and Silas had helped a girl who had some evil spirits in her. And when they helped the girl, she was a slave girl. and her owners were not happy. They were so unhappy that even though Paul and Silas had done a good thing, where did they send Paul and Silas? They sent them to jail, remember? And during the night when Paul and Silas were chained, God sent an earthquake to release them. And I think the earthquake was not the most miraculous thing in that story. I think the most miraculous thing was, instead of racing away, Paul and Silas chose to be gentle. If you have a baby brother and sister, and your mom wants you to bring them to her, I want you to imagine that baby is laying in the crib, and you're going to lean down and you're going to pick that baby up. How? Roughly? Quickly? Angrily? No, you're going to pick that baby up gently. You're going to act with gentleness and care. Do any of y'all have kittens at home like we talked about Miss Tracy had? Well, do you know what? Sometimes kittens get really mad and run away if you don't pet them. How? Gently. We don't always want to be gentle, but gentleness is often called for. And Paul and Silas acted with gentleness towards the jailer. They cared even about him. Why? Because they knew that the Lord was near. Was the Lord sitting there in body form? Was the Lord talking out loud where the jailer and Paul and Silas could hear? No, he wasn't. But Paul and Silas knew that the Lord was still with them, even though the Lord was invisible. How would you act if you knew the Lord was here with us? I think that it would help you act with gentleness and care towards the other person you were with, or the other thing you were with, like the puppy or the kitten. We should act with gentleness. And that is a hard thing to make sense of sometimes. We have 2 verses down if you'll practice that this week. And we only have 2 more to go. And I'm going to show you week by week how they fit together. So let's say this part. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. You're having a little trouble already? I get it. I want to give you 3 tips for memorizing something. I want you to say these 2 verses every day before you go to bed. Do you know that our Ian, when he was a baby, we spoke often gently to him? I'm kidding. Sometimes I did not speak gently. But when Ian was 2 or 3 years old, we read a psalm together every night before bed. And before long, even hearing it just one time every night, a 2 or 3-year-old baby Ian could memorize 8 verses. so you can do it. So I encourage you, tip number 1, say it every day before you go to bed. Step number 2, write it down. Write it down. Some of y'all, like a few of my artists out there, might want to write it down beautifully. Maybe you just want to write down, rejoice always. Maybe you just want to write down, the Lord is near. Maybe you just want to write down, let your gentleness be known to everyone. But you could have a really fun time drawing it in beautiful letters and then putting it where you could see. That's right. That's tip number 2. 1, say it each night. 2, write it down. And while you're writing it down and coloring it, you're going to be thinking about it. The third tip I have is to try to understand it. So for this week, we've talked so much about rejoicing. I want us to move on to gentleness. And I want you to think about things that you have to be gentle with. And then I want you to remind yourself that the Lord is where? The Lord is near. So, you're going to say it once a day. You're going to write it down once and put it where you can see it. And you're going to think about gentleness this week. And you're going to remind yourself that the Lord is near. All right? Sometimes parts of the Bible that we can memorize are actually prayers themselves. And sometimes parts of the Bible that we can memorize are said each Sunday when we go to worship. Next time we're going to talk about 2 of those things, okay? Because our last verse that we're going to memorize together is going to be something that we hear every week from our priest. Bye, friends. I would love it if you wanted a pen pal, if you sent me a message. All right?